Understand. Dr. Zuhdi Jasser is the president and founder of the American Islamic Forum for Democracy. Doctor, good to see you this morning.
It's nice to be with you. Thanks for having me.
Tell me a little bit about the American Islamic Forum for Democracy so people know, just in a short sentence or two, what exactly it is.
We're an organization of Muslims that believe that terrorism is simply a tactic and that we as Muslims and as Americans have a role to counter the ideology that's the root cause, which is political Islam, and separate mosque and state, and that we believe that's the only counterterrorism that'll be effective.
Okay, so having said all of that, people may think they know how you feel about building the mosque here. You know, the big word that's being used is tolerance. Can Americans show that they have tolerance, that they have a warm, fuzzy side, that they really do mean and stand for all the things that we say we do when we preach around the world, tolerance and freedom for everybody, so on and so forth? Let the mosque be built across from Ground Zero. And you say...
I say that basically to turn the story towards an issue of tolerance, I think, is not only deceiving but ill-advised, because many of us, including my family that escaped Syria, have built mosques in Wisconsin and Arizona, all over the country, and the First Amendment has guaranteed that right to do so. But the narrative, the story behind the Ground Zero Mosque and the controversy there is not about religious freedom. Don't make the mistake of thinking that I or most of the people that are against this want the government to step in and interfere, but rather we want to appeal to the hubris of Muslims. Especially, I'm talking to Muslims and saying, you know, this is the wrong thing to do. It is, if we had $100 million, this isn't really domestic money, which is another concern that we've been very concerned about. But if we had $100 million, why not spend $1 million in 100 cities in America and put counterterrorism centers, anti-Al-Qaeda centers that are Muslim-based, rather than dumping it in a salt in the wound that really is not the right thing for the image of the community and also for the safety of America.
You know a lot about the backer behind the cultural center that is being proposed near Ground Zero. You say that this person has made some controversial comments about America's responsibility in September 11th. Who is this person? How do you know that? And what are his comments?
Yeah, I'll tell you, you know, the issue is we always think that, well, the paradigm for the good Muslim versus the bad Muslim is nonviolent and violent, and that's not really true. I think, especially an imam as high profile as this, that the State Department's been sending around the world for years, should be somebody that makes it clear that he identifies that organizations that use terror as a tactic are terrorist organizations, like Hamas, Hezbollah, etc. But he won't say that. He wants to build bridges and be vague, and he has also defended Sharia law, which basically he says is the same as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. And one of the things our American Islamic Forum for Democracy is realistic about is that Sharia has been used as a tool for oppression of women, non-Muslims, moderate Muslims, inability to bring Bibles into Saudi Arabia, build churches. All of this ecumenism that he talks about is not the reality of Sharia. And as an apologist of that, I feel that he's not building bridges, but rather facilitating political Islam. And that's the lens their organization seems to be looking at this, rather than the lens of all uniting under American nationalism, which is really what Ground Zero is about.
It is the Imam Faisal Abdul Rauf who you were talking about. And you say that you have some serious concerns about how he and others have raised money for this cultural center. Why?
Yeah, and when we first came out against this in May, he had just at that time done an interview on Sharq al-Awsat, which is a English-language, London-based Saudi-financed newspaper, where he basically talked about the Islamophobia, as he conveniently described it, and said that he was reaching out to Arab countries and Muslim countries around the world to get money. And his organizations that he's worked with has not been shy about getting money from Gulf countries such as Qatar and a prince in Saudi Arabia, etc. And I think if you look at imams that have been radicalized, that has come because oftentimes the strings attached with some foreign financing.
Jasser, I'm going to have to step in. I don't want to, but I don't want to lose you off the satellite. And we're pressing up against the time. And I'm so appreciative of you sharing your point of view on this. I'm getting some indication from our viewers through our live chat that people are surprised, because I think you're right. I think many people think that the difference between violent and Islamic militants and moderates like yourself is a fine line. You say it's a much broader line, and I appreciate you talking about the issue this morning. Thank you very much. Dr. Zuhdi Jasser joining us today.